The first sign of trouble was the humming. A low, constant thrum that replaced the gentle lapping of the lake against the shore. A sound I'd known my entire life. I remember standing on my porch, the morning mist still clinging to the water, and seeing the first bulldozer clawing at the earth where the old oak stood. My heart dropped into my stomach. What were they doing? I couldn't believe my eyes. Over the next few weeks, the humming turned into a roar. The roar of chainsaws and heavy machinery. A cacophony of destruction that shattered the peace. That's when I met her. HOA President Karen. Her name was HOA. But everyone in the community knew her as Karen. She was a whirlwind of entitled condescension. A woman who seemed to think the world was her personal canvas. And our lake was her masterpiece. She stood there, on what used to be a wildlife sanctuary, with a condescending smirk, holding a clipboard like a scepter. She told me, "We're building a community. An exclusive retreat. 60 luxury cabins for discerning clients. You should be grateful for the added value. Grateful for the desecration of the place I loved more than anything. My grandfather built this cabin with his own 2 hands. My father taught me to fish right off that dock." I felt a surge of pure, unadulterated rage. It was a cold, hard truth. I was powerless. Or so I thought. I tried everything. I went to the town hall. But she'd already greased the right palms. I spoke to the local paper. But their story was buried. I even tried to rally the few remaining residents who weren't already under her thumb. But they were too afraid. She had a lawyer for everything. An answer for every question. And a condescending smile for every complaint. "It's all perfectly legal," she'd chirp. Her voice as cloying as cheap perfume. "Property rights. You know." Her words were a poison, seeping into the very soul of the place. The cabins went up so fast. They were an eyesore. 60 identical boxes with fake wood siding. A monument to greed and a lack of taste. It was all a lie. A cruel joke played on me and this land. My grandfather's legacy, my own history, was being erased before my very eyes. I'd lie awake at night, just listening. Not to the gentle sounds of the forest anymore, but to the hum of air conditioners and the drone of generators. The lake, once a shimmering mirror of the sky, was now a polluted reflection of her ambition. This wasn't just a development. It was a hostile takeover. I spent countless nights poring over old blueprints, maps, and historical documents. I was desperate for anything. Any loophole. Any forgotten detail that could be my salvation. That's when I found it. A faded drawing in the county archives, the original dam. It wasn't a natural part of the lake. It was built 100 years ago to create a shallow, stable reservoir for farming. And there, in the corner, was the detail no one remembered, a manual overflow gate. A relic from a bygone era. Long since forgotten and buried in the overgrowth. It was my last hope. I knew what I had to do. The plan was crazy, reckless, and brilliant. It was a gamble. But I had nothing left to lose. I made my way through the thick underbrush. The thorns tearing at my skin. The air thick with the scent of pine and decay. I finally found it. A rusty metal will half buried in the mud. A lever to turn the tide. Both literally and figuratively. I went back home, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't face her directly. Not yet. I had to wait for the perfect moment. I chose the night of her big Lakefront grand opening gala. I saw the string lights, the catered food, the smug, self-satisfied faces of her investors. The air was filled with fake laughter and the clinking of glasses. My stomach twisted into a knot. That's when I made my move. I watched from the shadows as she took to a makeshift stage. a microphone in her hand. "Welcome, everyone, to our little slice of paradise. To the future of lakefront living." Her voice was like nails on a chalkboard. I slipped away, a ghost in the night, and headed for the dam. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the rusty wheel. It was stiff, refusing to budge. I strained, my muscles burning, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The gate creaked, a low groan of metal against metal. And then, slowly, agonizingly, it began to open. I heard the sound before I saw it. A distant roar. The voice of the lake finally unleashed. The panic started slowly. A few screams here. A few dropped glasses there. Then, a collective gasp as the first wave of water rushed through the clearing. A natural tidal wave consuming everything in its path. I stood there, a silent observer, as her meticulously planned gala turned into a scene of utter chaos. Guests shrieked, scrambling for higher ground as water swirled around their ankles. The string lights sizzled and died. Her perfect, pristine cabins, built on the stolen land, were now surrounded by a growing moat. I saw her on her makeshift stage, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. Her perfectly coiffed hair was plastered to her forehead, her designer dress soaked. She was yelling, "What's happening? Who did this?" Her empire, built on lies and arrogance, was crumbling before her eyes. It was a beautiful, chaotic sight. The roar of the water was a symphony, a song of justice. I didn't feel rage anymore, just a profound, overwhelming sense of peace. The dam gates were open, and the lake was reclaiming what was rightfully hers. It was an act of nature, a force of God, they called it. The insurance companies denied her claims, citing acts of God and unforeseen natural events. The lawyers she so carefully curated abandoned her. And the investors, seeing their money literally washing away, turned their backs. She lost everything. The cabins, the land, her reputation. She was just HOA again, not Karen. She was a woman who overstepped, who thought she could conquer nature, only to be humbled by it. And as for me, I got my lake back. The humming stopped. The generators went silent. The wildlife, which had fled in terror, slowly began to return. The water, once murky and polluted, began to clear. I sit on my porch now, listening to the gentle lapping of the waves. And I can hear the whispers of the old oak, the laughter of my father, the spirit of this land. It's not a victory. Not really. It's a restoration. A painful, beautiful reminder that some things are bigger than greed. It was a lesson for us all. A humbling moment. Did I go too far? Was my revenge justified? There are no easy answers. We are just stewards of this land. And when we forget that, nature has a way of reminding us. Was it wrong to play God? Even for a moment. I want to know what you think. Who was right and who was wrong? I'm waiting to hear your take on it.